All right, as we get started here, first thing I'd like you to do, and you can do this on the back of your note sheet where you have some room, is pause the video and try these problems of the day on your own. When you're done trying them, you can resume the video and check your answers. So go ahead and pause the video right now and try. All right, here's the answers to the problem of the day. In the first one there, I just want to draw your attention to the question. It said, what's the ratio of foreign exchange students to non-foreign exchange students? So if 18 of the 1,000 are foreign exchange students, you'd have to take the 1,000 minus 18 to get the number that are non-foreign exchange students, which would be the 982. And that's going to reduce to 9 over 491. The rest of them, just take a look at it there and make sure that you have them correct. If you have any questions about them, let me know. Before we move on to the lesson, just a reminder that you can pause the video at any time you need to make sure you're getting all the notes. And then if you don't get something, feel free to rewind and go back to make sure you understand. So today we're going to start off talking about simple interest. When you deposit money into a savings account, your money is going to earn interest. When you borrow money from the bank charges you interest for borrowing that money. So interest is the amount of money that is paid or received for the use of borrowed money. Again, when you borrow money to somebody, they are going to pay you back interest. They're going to pay you back the money you borrowed them plus interest. If you borrow money from somebody, you're going to pay them back that money plus you're going to pay them back interest. Okay, the principal is the original amount of money that you borrow. Okay, so say you borrow $20 from somebody, the $20 is the principal. The extra amount that you pay back on top of the $20 is the interest. Okay? Simple interest is the rate of interest that is applied to the principal for 1 year. Okay, so simple interest just talks about 1 year at a time. Okay, now typically a bank does not apply interest 1 year at a time. It's actually being calculated almost continually. But this will give you just kind of an idea of the cost of borrowing money and how you can earn money by saving money. The proportion we use for simple interest for 1 year, again, this works for only 1 year, is just like what we did in the previous lesson with percents. It's the percent over 100, and that's going to equal the interest over the principal. So let's take a look at some examples here. So if you deposit $500 at a rate of 6% for 2 years, how much interest will you earn? Okay, so again, we've got 3 parts to identify here because, again, we know the 100 is always going to be there. Okay, the 100 will always be on the bottom of the percent. So we've got 6%, that's going over the top of the 100. The interest is what we don't know, that's what the question is asking. So that's why we're using a variable for that. And then the principal of 500, that goes below the interest. So now we've got a proportion set up and we can solve that. So you can see when we solve that proportion, we get 30. Now the important thing to remember here is that $30 is only for 1 year, and the question asked how much it would be for 2 years. So the additional step here is to multiply the interest by the number of years. So we need to take the $30 times 2 years to get the $60 in interest. So you've earned $60 in interest by depositing that $500 at a rate of 6% for 2 years. All right, looking at the next one here, we want to find the principal in an account that has a rate of 7.5% for 1 year and earns $900 in interest. So how much money was deposited in this account to earn the $900 in interest? So again, identify what you can identify. We've got the percent there, that's 7.5. We know that's going on top of the 100. We know the interest is 900. That's going to go on top, above the principal. And the principal we don't know, and that's why that gets the X. And again, we go ahead and solve this proportion, and we find out that X is going to equal $12,000. So to earn, so this $12,000 is what was originally deposited to earn the $900 at 7.5% for 1 year. Looking at the next example here, we've got to find the interest earned on $4,200 at 6.25% for 5 years. Okay, so we know the percent is 6.25. I'm going to put that over the 100. The interest, I don't know, but I know the interest goes on top. That's where I'm going to put my variable, and we'll just use X. The principal is $4,200. That's going to go on the bottom of the interest. And we have our proportions set up. So now what we need to do is find the missing part of that proportion. So 100 times, we do our cross products here. 100 times X is 100X. And 6.25 times 4,200 is going to be 26,250. So when we divide by the 100, we end up with $262.50. Now that is the amount of interest for 1 year. But we need to know what it is for 5 years. So we're going to take that $262.50 and multiply it by 5. When you take $262.50 times 5, you're going to get $1,312.50. So over that 5 years, you would earn $1,312.50 in interest. Now our next example, it says Terrence opens a savings account with a deposit of $1,000. After 1 year, he receives $50 in interest. What is his interest rate? Okay, so this time we do not know what the interest rate is, but we do know that he received $50 in interest, and he deposited $1,000, so that is our principal. So again, I don't know what the rate is, that's my variable. I know the interest is $50, and I know the principal is $1,000. So we're going to go ahead and set this up and solve it. If I take 100 times 50 and cross multiply here, I'm going to get 5,000. And x times 1,000 is 1,000x. So when we divide by 1,000, 5,000 divided by 1,000 is 5. So that means the interest rate here is 5%. Now number 3, the last example here, it says suppose you lend a friend $400 for 2 years at a rate of 6%. How much should your friend pay you in interest at the end of the 2 years? Okay? So I know my rate is 6%, so I can go ahead and do 6 over 100. And I know that my principal is $400 because that is the amount that I lent to my friend. So what we're looking for here is the interest. Okay? If I cross multiply here, 6 times 400 is 2,400. And 100 times x is 100x. So I divide by 100, and 2400 divided by 100 is 24. So that's what x equals. Now remember, when you solve the proportion, that only gives it to you for 1 year. So what we need to do here is take that $24 and multiply it by 2 to get $48 for the 2 years. So your friend is going to need to pay you $48 in interest at the end of the 2 years. Okay, again, go back and look at anything you need to. You know, feel free to rewind and go back and check something out if you need to. Otherwise, make sure you turn in the note sheet when you complete the online work.